Thank God I made it into the light. I think I'm safe in the light. You've got to get me out of here! No!
What it do, gang? Today I'll be reviewing a brand new title, The Suffering, developed by Surreal Software and published by Midway Games, who are no longer with us. It is only appropriate that we observe a minute of silence in their honor. The Suffering is an action survival horror inspired by Devil May Cry, Resident Evil and Half-Life. The developers wanted to give birth to a game which consisted of frenetic combat, unsettling and tense atmosphere, and an immersive world. Go get your warm cocoa, envelop yourself in your warmest blanket, and come along this journey with me to find out if they were successful in creating what could only be described as a highly ambitious project. The Salt Factory, whose channel you can find right here, but please watch this video first, I need the views, inspired me to put up a warning for those of you who do not shine quite as bright as Katy Perry would like you to. I will explore every inch, nook and cranny of this brand new release, so if it is something you'd like to experience for yourself first, don't watch this video any further. 3, 2, 1. You play as Torque, a middle-aged father of two young, beautiful black boys who were sent on a one-way ticket ride to heaven. Who bought them the tickets? That depends entirely on how you behaved throughout the game. If you had as much regard for human life as ISIS, then you will learn that Torque smashed his wife's head in, drowned his younger son, and yeeted the older one through a window. If, on the other hand, you roleplayed as Goody Two-Shoes and helped out this retarded old man find shelter. Or if you managed to safely escort this corrections officer, suffering from what I believe to be extremely aggressive and possibly contagious ADHD, back home, then you learn that your family was murdered by thugs, and you have been framed. The game starts with a cutscene of Torque being led to his new cell.
Willie's bed isn't even cold yet, and already they brought in a new guy.
I heard he killed his old lady and kids. Sick motherfucker.
Be quiet, you jerry-curled fool. Don't you know who that is?
Motherfucker deserves to be strapped down and dosed.
You believe what the COs tell you, Slick? You don't know shit about the man. I'm telling you, what I heard, he's all right.
That cocksucker's not going to be all right for long if he's in the row with the rest of us short-timers.
Shut your cracker ass, Goose. Man's due respect. You show him respect.
I decide who I respect, shit boy!
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Neighbor. Nice to meet you. My name's Floyd. How long you got till your turn on the table, huh? You all out of appeals? Your lawyer fuck you? I read about your trial. They got no witnesses, all circumstantial evidence. No one knows what really happened but you. But you can't remember a thing, is that right?
Best not to listen to him talk. Floyd's a degenerate parasite. They should have slapped the cuffs on him coming out of his mama's
At least
tongue.
I know Jesus is with me, man. Whatever I've done, the Reverend says Jesus has forgiven me.
Will you shut the fuck up, you baby-raping, sodomizing sack of shit!
Alright folks, I officially like this game, despite the fact that I only have very minor nostalgia for it. As a small Polish boy, too young to grasp the intricate workings of keyboard and mouse, I only ever watched my more cognitively developed brother play The Suffering, and all I remembered up until now was this scene right here. How did he get his hands on that game back in the early 2000s, in the middle of bumfuck nowhere in Poland? You see, the 90s and the early 2000s were basically like the Wild West back home, or what I like to refer as the golden age for those brave enough to traverse the 7 seas and make it back with thousands of bootleg CDs. I actually remember my one and only interaction with a real pirate. It was a late afternoon, or possibly an early evening. Details are a little foggy, you see. I buzzed the number I was told to buzz, and I waited. Droplets of thick sweat quickly covered my brow. My lower back became disturbingly moist, and then a voice answered. He asked me who I am and what do I want, and upon hearing me speak, he told me to fuck off and to never come back. Being the adventurous little shit that I was, I obliged and never went there again. Anyway, an earthquake breaks the structural integrity of the prison, releasing you from your cell in the process. You must find a way out of the prison and do it quickly too, lest you suffer the same fate as your fellow inmates and COs alike. The aforementioned prison is called Abbott State Penitentiary on Carnate Island, located 10 miles off the coast of Maryland. As you navigate the many rooms and corridors this facility has to offer, you will experience visions, hear voices,
My soul left me alone in here.
and fuck shit up constantly. Naturally, you will come across friendly NPCs too, and by friendly, I mean they won't shoot you on sight. The CEOs don't try to hide their disgust towards you, and they make it very clear that if you try anything, they will make Swiss cheese out of your Mexican body.
And you better stay out of my way. If I need to shoot more of those fuckers, I will not hold my fire on your account. You read me?
It's not explicitly stated that Talk is Mexican, but I think we can all agree these sideburns came from beyond the wall. The game's horror elements shine brightest in the beginning when you're still figuring things out. You're not sure how many Zombium pills, your source of healing, you will find, unsure whether you can keep your flashlight on constantly like in Fear, or you need to be careful like in Amnesia. When you experience these hallucinations and you don't quite know what's going on yet, that's when the game is at its scariest, or most tense to be precise. When I first came across a more powerful version of the Suffering's discount necromorph called Slayer, I immediately pretended to be a Jew and quickly found safety inside the gas chamber. When I realized this tactic wasn't working, I paused the game, injected myself with Trembolone acetate, which is a type of anabolic steroid primarily used in cattle, and I popped some Viagra too, just to be safe. I waited 45 minutes to let the effects kick in and proceeded to gut the unsuspecting Slayer with my massive shiv. Before all that commotion, however, you are presented with your first moral dilemma. A CO is being held inside an industrial Jewish oven. The poor guy is convinced he's being pranked by his co-workers. Unfortunately for him, I didn't know that I could just not press the button because your inner demons are telling you to do it. Immediately upon ensuring the man's body stops breathing, your wife basically tells you that you're fucking stupid and maybe, just maybe, you should consider all the possibilities when presented with such situations, rather than just going straight for the glowing object on your screen without a second thought.
Fuck you! Those are my last words. You.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. The game expects you to think for yourself, and I really wish that some of the more modern video games treated you as at least a semi-comprehensive individual capable of problem solving. Now would be a good time to go over the morality system in place. As I mentioned earlier, the ending reveal is dictated by Talk's morality. There are plenty of scenarios throughout the game where you can either show some compassion by leading people to safety and aiding them in escaping the nightmarish island, like this old fellow, Clem, who built himself a raft and is upfront about not being able to take you with him. He doesn't offer you anything in return. He's simply appealing to your better nature. You can either set the ship spawning endless festas on fire, ignore him like most people probably would, and just get the fuck off the beach, or just kill him. Your wife wants you to help him.
He can teach you a lot. See what he has to say.
Whereas your demon side would like to see Clem bleed out.
Make him bleed.
It's an interesting system in the sense that there are no dialogue choices in the Suffering. It's all up to your actions. No press E to agree or R to reject. If you keep the guy safe and blow up the ship, then you've done a good deed. Unless you accidentally shot him too many times, which, believe me when I say, will happen frequently. If the AI of the Suffering were to take an IQ test, it would probably score a severely impaired or delayed. Friendly NPCs will often get in line of fire with little to no regard for their own safety, and they will gladly let you poke them full of holes only to turn against you in a heartbeat. It's like their own little sick game where you're the victim. Let us briefly take a look at this racist CEO who'd rather get filleted by a walking Swiss army knife than to let your Mexican ass escape the island. I love the dedication. There are 8 types of enemies in the game, and each one of them is based on the form of death they suffered. Not a whole lot, but considering this is an 8-hour game, I think it's enough. First up, we have Slayers, and they come in 2 varieties, a short, white man and a large, black man. They both like to pretend they're spiders from time to time. Not sure what that's all about. Slayers represent death by decapitation. Next up, marksmen. These intimidating brutes have a rotating flesh machine gun on their backs, and they really like dropping on their knees to take aim, making them probably the easiest enemy to deal with. They represent death by firing squad. Mainliners are these skinned little goblins who appear to have syringes for eyes. I don't like mainliners. Not because they're poorly designed, but because they are annoying to deal with, which I guess was the whole point. They spawn out of the ground and you can't really hear them appear, so if you're not constantly rotating your head like a fucking owl, this will keep happening to you. I hold so much disdain towards these little shits that I actually commissioned a friend of mine to crochet me one mainliner, just so I could pump it full of lighter fluid and set it on fire. They represent lethal injection, by the way. Then we have Noosemen, a torso hanging by its neck from the ceilings of many environments in the game. Please avoid walking directly underneath these totally inconspicuous bloodstains, or wear a proper safety helmet, unless you enjoy watching your entire health bar disappear. These assholes represent the lynched, skinned, and mutilated CEOs. We also have a super rare evolution of Diglets called the Burrowers. They enjoy following you around, sometimes for miles on end. The only threat they pose is to some of the NPCs you're trying to escort. Thankfully, this Pokemon is fairly weak to shotgun-type damage. Festers are obese, and they conveniently transport tens of exploding rats inside their stomachs. They are also immune to bullets, so I'd preserve my explosives if I were you. Festers are a reincarnation of slave traders, and they represent being eaten alive. Lastly, we have the Inferna. They are little girls who enjoy running circles around you, leaving a trail of flames wherever they go. They also partake in group suicide every now and then. They represent the incendiary death of 11 innocents accused of witchcraft. Combat is somewhat trivial in the Suffering. Dodge to the left, dodge to the right, or better yet, just keep running around in circles, like the fucking Roadrunner, and nothing will ever hit you. That's because most of the enemies have a forward lunge style attack. The Slayers lunge, Burrowers counterattack and move at the same time. Mainliners lunge and throw syringes at you with the accuracy of a blind child. The rats strapped in C4 lunge forward too. See what I mean? Your arsenal consists of a shiv, a fire axe, which has an interesting effect of knocking back every enemy you hit, which means that you will have to move forward a little in order to attack your enemy again. Not sure who thought this was a good idea for a melee weapon. A revolver, which can be dual-wielded, a Tommy gun, a shotgun, and a flamethrower. They all have their uses, but for the most part, it really doesn't matter what weapon you use against your enemies. The only exception are the rare Pokemon, which should ideally be attacked with a shotgun, otherwise they will go back underground real quick. Torque has an insanity meter, which you fill by killing enemies. When full, it can be used to transform him into a large Slayer-like beast. The first transformation takes place after being provoked by the three main characters. Dr. Killjoy, a psychiatrist who ran the Carnate Asylum and took pleasure in performing humane treatments such as lobotomy.
Joy put this sharp thing in my head, and I'm so happy now. So happy.
Laceration and detachment of limbs.
Ognisko, hard ponad wszystko. Swój kielo trzymaj blisko i nalewaj tylko czysto. Ognisko, hard ponad wszystko. Swój kielo trzymaj blisko i nalewaj.
Hermes, who was an executioner and loved using the gas chamber. So much so, in fact, that eventually he committed suicide by going into the chamber himself. And lastly, we have Horus, another inmate who, after a successful mating ritual with his wife during a conjugal, killed her in order to protect her from the world. Genius. He was condemned to an electric chair. All three of them accompany you throughout the game until you eventually destroy Killjoy's projections, put Hermes back into the oven, and release Hector from his never-ending suffering of experiencing electrocution time and time again. The Suffering's environments are pretty bleak. I hope you like the colors grey and brown, because it's all that's on offer. And just so we're clear, I'm not bashing the game for it. You can't have a colorful prison full of children's drawings and make it creepy. I'm just saying. It does portray a very bleak picture of an old-school prison system for deranged criminals before people started caring about human rights so much. There are dead bodies everywhere, Some were mauled by their malefactors, while others couldn't take the horrors they witnessed, and of themselves. I guess seeing a humanoid creature with shivs for limbs murdering your friends might change your perspective on life. Music has a very industrial feel to it, which fits perfectly. Combat tracks stimulate the adrenal medulla to produce extreme amounts of adrenaline as you slice and gun your way through the never-ending hordes of monsters, while the slower, environmental pieces are unsettling and designed to keep the atmosphere tense. Most of the tracks are about 2 minutes long, which is exactly how long you're supposed to brush your teeth for. Try it. My teeth have never felt cleaner. Brushing to the beat of Prison is Hell, or slaying the Slayers with my Oral-B Pro 2 2500 cross-action electric toothbrush is my favorite time of day. And while Oral-B's parent company Procter & Gamble are very clearly not sponsoring this video, I would like to urge you to abandon your shitty plastic or barbaric bamboo toothbrushes and buy yourself one of these bad boys. I love them so much that I bought another one just so I could dual wield them for maximum efficiency. Voice acting is pretty fucking good too. Just listen to some of these scenes.
That island's more than just a prison, it's so much worse. It brings out the worst in everyone.
Waiting so long just to fucking sleep. I think you're my last chance, Talk. Don't let me down.
Hold it right there, or I will cut you down. You hear me, inmate? Do you hear me?
Man, it's good to see another human. Wait, what the fuck? Talk, is that you? Fuck, man, it's me, Dallas from Easton.
I definitely wasn't expecting an almost 18-year-old game to have such high production values. Before I conclude the review, I have a couple of announcements to make. Firstly, I have my own Discord server now. Why? Don't ask. I think that's how you're supposed to build a community. Do you want to talk to me? Would you like to hang out and play some games? It will probably never happen, but there is always a chance. A chance you should take. It's not every day you get a chance to speak to an actual mentally defective individual. Secondly, I have a Patreon now. Why do I have a Patreon? Because, dear viewer, I want money. Your money, to be precise. Money that will probably go towards making these videos a lot better. Or not, you never know. That's the beauty of it. I will also be taking video suggestions through Patreon going forward. Now, I'm not saying I will make a video on every topic you request, but I will definitely consider it. Side note, I am recording this fully covered by a large grey blanket, using my phone as a torch so I can read the goddamn script to see if I can reduce any unwanted noise pollution so that I can stop putting my voice through a process called denoising, which works in a similar fashion to chemotherapy. Does it get rid of various sounds produced by my PC or passing cars? Sure, but as a fun side effect, it also ruins the quality of my voice. I feel like Harry Potter. Enough shit talk. Scoring time. The Suffering somewhat fails at being a survival horror game, as the fast-paced combat doesn't really leave much room for being scared. It's kind of like Dead Space in that regard. There are creepy moments, but eventually they just stop having any real impact. Surreal Software did succeed, however, at creating a tense, action-packed shooter. Is it worth playing? Fuck yes. Especially if you've played it in the past, because as Daddy Seth once said, nostalgia is one hell of a drug. Now, let's pretend it's still Halloween and treat this review as a Halloween special. I give The Suffering one flaming mainliner out of my awful work schedule. Expect a new video soon. Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? I don't even know what I'm going to review next. Until next time, friends, stay cozy and brush your fucking teeth.
Those fucking cutters are everywhere in here. But this is the only way to go, man. If we gonna bounce up out of this shithole. Wait, what the fuck is that sound? Shit, man. I knew coming back in here was a bad idea. Look, Talk, you the badass killing machine, not me. I think you better take point. Lead us through this shit.